Hi, everybody. Hub Arkush here for ChicagoFootball.com, along with our senior Bears beat reporter, Kevin Fishbain. And under the heading of no rest for the wicked or no rest for the weary, it may be the bye week, but it's time for us to take a look back at the first, not half, but first significant chunk of the Chicago Bears season. We're through a training camp and off-season, the first 6 games. Kevin, I guess the big question, what have we learned so far about this new version of the Chicago Bears?
Well, I think we know it's a much better locker room than we saw last year, and credit to the coaching staff and new regime for doing it. And I've been very impressed with the way that Adam Gase, Vic Fangio, and John Fox have gotten a team that lacks talent compared to the rest of the league competitive in some of these games. They have the 2 wins, should have 3 the way they played against Detroit, but you can really see the impact of this new coaching staff, and you wonder looking forward as the players they have get more and more used to this system, and then as better players come in, what these guys could be capable of.
You know what's really interesting about it? I went digging through some numbers to write my column this week for the Chicago Football Weekly insert in the papers around the state, and the bottom line is that they're much more efficient. They're much better coached. Jay Cutler is playing the best football of his Chicago Bears career, and yet they're less productive than they were through 6 weeks last year under Mark Trestman. 3-3 a year ago, 2-4 this year. Last year, they're actually scoring fewer points and giving up more than they did through 6 weeks last year.
Yeah, they've had those big games in terms of, you look at the Packers, the Cardinals, and obviously the Lions, in which the defense really did not play very well. And you talk about the youth, you talk about the way the injuries have really impacted that unit. They're obviously still not there yet. They've also had these kickoff return touchdowns that have added to that giving up the most points allowed. They've had a pick 6 thrown in there as well. So, it's one of those things that they obviously have a lot to work on going forward. It's interesting. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about this coming after the bye. They got a tough 5 games before December gets pretty easy. So I'm really curious to see how they come back from the bye, but I'm pretty confident it's going to look a lot better than last year's team after the bye.
And there's actually some very obvious reasons why, even though they do appear better coached, some of the young people playing better, they're not as productive. You got to go back and look at Charles Tillman, Lance Briggs, Tim Jennings, Brandon Marshall. 4 Pro Bowlers gone for the right reasons, gone for good reasons, but now you've got younger people, less talented people stepping in. It's going to take a little bit longer. I think what you have to feel good about as Bears fans, particularly on the offensive side of the football, they are running the ball better than they did last year. They're throwing it when they have to, and Jay Cutler taking much better care of the football. Through 6 weeks last year, 24th in the NFL interception percentage. This year, 14th.
Yeah, and he's had a couple of those bad interceptions, but he's battled back from those. He throws the interception in Detroit and then leads 2 touchdown drives and the final drive of regulation to get the field goal. You look back to the game against the Raiders. He throws that interception and then moves them downfield to get the game-winning field goal. In years past, we've seen Jay Cutler throw one of these interceptions and suddenly it's over. It unravels and more interceptions, but that's not happening yet this year, and I think a lot of credit goes to Adam Gase, their relationship in this playbook working well for Cutler.
On the defense, yes, they're giving up a few more points. They have 1 less win, but you look at the arrival of Pernell McPhee, you look at Jarvis Jenkins, you look at some of the kids, Eddie Goldman, Adrian Amos, you now can see some of that young to middle-aged talent that you may be building around going forward, none of which you had a year ago.
Well, I think Ryan Pace had a home run with Pernell McPhee, at least just looking at 6 games. Based on the history of free agency around this league, how tough it is sometimes to score, Pernell McPhee's been fantastic. I think he's been the best overall player on the entire team, not counting Robbie Gould, who's been very good, but McPhee's been great. However, it says a lot about your defense, and McPhee is clearly head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of what he's been able to do. I'm glad you mentioned Goldman, Jenkins, Amos. This is a Pace's team that he's trying to build, and once they get more and more talent, homegrown talent through the couple more drafts, you can see what they can do, and it's a good start that Goldman and Amos are getting all these reps.
Much has been made about John Fox taking over a 1-15 Carolina team and going 7-9 his first year, took over a 4-12 Broncos team, went 8-8 his first year. I dug a little deeper, though, and found that after the first 6 weeks in Carolina, he was 4-6. After the first 6 weeks in Denver, he was 6-4. What do you see for the Bears the rest of the way?
Yeah, as I said, the schedule does work out favorably for them, and this is the team that is going to have the coaches that will always put them in contention. And I think as long as Cutler and Jeffrey stay healthy, which they're on the right track, when they get Antrell Rollback, I think that helps a lot. I still think this team has a shot at that 7-9, 8-8 range, which was kind of the ceiling that we all predicted. Is this a 9-7, 10-6 team? I don't think so. They don't have the talent. But the schedule works out. They have the players in place. And John Box has said over and over, when these guys get more and more comfortable with what we're doing, you're going to start to see the results. And I think the arrow is still pointing up, even though they're coming off an ugly loss to Detroit.
I had them at 6-10, 7-9 if everything went right. Never thought Jay Cutler would play as well as he has in this offense. I think 5-5 the rest of the way is realistic. The schedule gets a little easier. Maybe a 7-9 football team would be a good first step for this ball club. Throughout the bye week, throughout the season, we're not going anywhere. So for the best coverage of the Bears 24/7, stay right where we're at ChicagoFootball.com.